Fine, now we've been talking about risk management, whether it is quality risk management or general risk management. Now we are seeking ways in which we can apply these concepts in our day-to-day lives. How do we do it? Now each department, it doesn't matter which department, production, engineering, QC, QA, marketing, materials, HR, finance, anybody. A group of people from that department sit down and write down all that is done in that department. Maybe there are 100 things that are done. Now, having identified those 100 things, a group of people individually, without discussion, give it a rating, priority rating. Yellow for low level activities and red for very high level activities. Now you could say yellow is 1, orange, light orange is 2, and deep orange is 3, and red is 4, to keep things simple. And having each one having expressed his estimate or judgment of its priority, then there is discussion. Now, as I said earlier, you could take the arithmetic mean, you could take the mode, you could take the median, but this time you do not give anybody veto powers. You do not say, even if one person says 3, then that's the highest, then it shall be given 3. No, in this, unless it was warranted, you take away that element. And when you take an average, let us say, and it comes down to say 2.4, you decide whether you're going to round up to 3, round down to 2, or round off. If it is 2.4, it becomes 2. If it is 2.6, it becomes 3. But you decide and be consistent in what you do. Then you also say what is the liability to the department if that particular activity is done incorrectly, what could be the implication to the company. Now, having done that, you sort it in the highest rating to the lowest rating and draw a line. Where does yellow end? Where does light orange end? Where does deep orange end and red begins? And then determine who should be assigned that responsibility. Yellow activities, maybe decisions can be taken or carried out by executive level people, supervisory level people. The light oranges could be done at junior managerial level. The deep oranges could be done at manager level, and only the reds go up to the senior management. Let's take another example, change control. Today you know that if there is change control, then QA gets involved. Now a group of experts get in and they form the Change Control Review Committee. Now, all the changes that are proposed, the group, as I said earlier, individually rates whether it is a yellow colored change being proposed, a light orange change being proposed, a deep orange change being proposed, or a red change being proposed. Now you decide if it is a red change, then QA will discuss it with the department head, whether it relates to a change in the lab or in production or engineering or wherever. QA will discuss with the concerned functional head, and after they agree, then the implementation will be done by QA, the monitoring will be done by QA, the reviewing will be done by QA, and the closure will be done by QA. But if it is a yellow change, it is done at the functional head level. He implements it, he monitors it, he reviews it, and he closes it, and only intimates QA. In an orange case by case basis, if it is deep orange, then QA might like to get involved with the functional head in the loop. Or if it is a light orange, it may be the functional head who is executing it, monitoring it, reviewing it, closing it, while keeping QA in the loop. There's a difference between intimating QA and keeping QA in the loop so that QA is constantly abreast about what is happening. This way, the workload on QA can come down considerably, and this way you give recognition to the fact that an engineer knows better than the QA as to what he is doing in his department. The production man knows better than an outsider as to what he is doing in production, and so on and so forth. And still you have this element of control very much in place so that things don't happen haphazardly. It goes through change control. Now let's take a case like planned deviation. Now what is that you're trying to do? If it is a yellow colored planned deviation, then it is the functional head's responsibility. But if it is a red colored planned deviation, then QA is consulted, QA oversight becomes necessary. Now let's take one more case. We talk about raw materials. Raw materials come in and they have to be tested. Regardless of how much testing somebody else may have done, you carry out your battery of tests. How can we rationalize this? An expert group of, expert working group sits down to identify all the materials that may be used, whether they are actives or excipients, it doesn't matter. All the key raw materials that are used, all the raw materials that are used. Then you identify the key raw materials. So which of these are orange category materials, which are these yellow category materials, which are red category materials. Now if it is a yellow category material, your vendor qualification process doesn't go beyond getting that person's name, telephone number, contact person, and so on and so forth, address, and reasonably reputed person in the market. It's a yellow category item, so don't get too involved in it. It's an orange category item. Then to that extent, you go beyond just name and address. You find out how many years has this person been in business, how many employees does he have, what's his turnover, what's his reputation in the market, what's his reputation for quality, what is his reputation for delivery, how does this price compare, how is his consistency, and so on and so forth. And collect that data, review that data, evaluate that data, and set it aside. Now, if the red category, you go beyond all this to actually auditing that facility and interacting with that facility far more intensely than you would for a yellow category or an orange category item. Now that you've qualified that person, now you go into a process called vendor status rating. Now, you might like to say, hey, listen, if it is a red category item, the first 3 batches that the person supplies, he carries out all the tests, I carry out all the tests. After that, for the next 3 items, he carries out all the tests, I carry out half the tests. After that, 3 more batches and everything is alright, he carries out all the tests, I carry out only 1 test, or at the most 2 tests, the identity test perhaps. And then comes the question of the 10th every 10th batch you will do full testing as he has done to check that his certificate agrees with your testing. So you bring your testing levels down. Now should any batch at any point of time fail, then you downgrade that person. From qualified he becomes preferred, and from preferred he goes up to most preferred, and when he is most preferred and stays at most preferred, that's when you are going into the 0th batch, 10th, 20th, 30th batch, etc. And at that time you're doing all tests, otherwise you don't. Now if one batch fails for any reason, then you downgrade him from most preferred to preferred, and you carry out for the next 3 batches that he supplies half the tests that he carries out and check whether it is now acceptable, and if it is, you promote him back to most preferred and revert to the 0th testing. Now the other thing is orange. The first batch or first 2 batches you test all as per his records, and after that you test again after every 15th batch or every 25th batch or 20th batch or whatever, and that's when you have to periodically assess that these materials are in a state of control. As far as yellow materials are concerned, what testing you will be carrying out is entirely left to you. Maybe you'll do an identity test, and that's about all that will be required. This way you can bring down the level of testing and sampling that is done in your facility as compared to the way it is being done now. I hope this presentation has been useful to you, and wish you every success in your quality risk management and prioritization efforts. Thank you very much.